we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. Like, this is huge. We see things as we are. So if we're, for example, if you are always struggling in relationships or with health or with finances, it's not because that's how it is. It's not like that for everyone. It's because you have a belief within you that is reconfirming it. And so I believe that the Mandela effect can work for your good or for your bad. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking about a phenomena that has been showing up everywhere for me lately. And I truly believe if we harness this, it has the potential to completely change our lives. I'm going to be talking all about the Mandela Effect. Now, I learned about the Mandela Effect a few years ago, and I really started to, recently, it's just been showing up everywhere for me. And where it started was I was having a conversation with a friend. And we both had such distinct memories of what our other friend had said. And it was on one of our friends' human design. She thought that she had remembered her saying that she was one thing. I thought that I remembered her saying she was another. And we truly both believed we were right. And so this is how it kind of began. And I started thinking about it. So then we talked to our friend, and it turns out she was what I thought she was, and what I thought she said she was. But I started thinking about it more, and I was like, maybe there are two realities. So what the Mandela effect is basically, or Mandela, I think it's Mandela effect because it's named after Nelson Mandela. So it's named after Nelson Mandela. And the reason why it's called the Mandela effect is because there's a large group of people that remember him dying in prison during the 1980s, when history books show us and tell us that he died in his home in 2013. So which one is it? Why do all of these people have this remembrance that he died in prison in the 1980s? So this is where this term came to be, because now there's all of these things like the Bernstein Bears versus Bernstein Bears, Looney Tunes versus Looney Tunes. Like, there's a group of people who think that it was, and I was one of them, I thought it was, rather than TUNES, I thought it was TOONES. So it's like all of these weird, what I'm going to be calling glitches in the matrix, or parallel timelines, parallel realities. So I'm going to share my thoughts about this. And then I also asked my guides about this, and they shared a message. And I just think that if we can actually understand this topic, because like, what is it? I don't believe anything is just random. I really don't. I believe. So I'm going to share my thoughts, and then I'll share what my guides had to say. And I am of the belief that people have different memories based on what reality, what timeline, what frequency, what dimension they are in. So in one dimension, so I'm sure many of you are familiar, we are currently in a huge planetary awakening right now, shifting to 4D and 5D. We are currently in 3D. There's a big planetary shift happening, and this is what the new Earth is. But here's the thing, it's not a new place that we are going. It is a new state of consciousness, of viewing reality. And I'm of the belief that we will have different memories based on what reality we are living in. So I actually believe too that the same person, so I could have a belief that Nelson Mandela died in 2013, and then I could raise my consciousness, do something else, and then maybe I have the belief that he died in the 1980s. But maybe I don't think I would remember. I don't think I would remember that I used to believe it one way and used to believe it another way. But I think that this can become quite tricky. And this is so fascinating because I really never have loved history. I've never just been a fan of it. I've never been a fan of history. And it kind of makes sense to me now because like what is history? If certain people like truly believe certain things and certain people don't, then what's history? What is history? And I'm going to share with you at the end how we can actually use the Mandela effect to actually completely change our lives. Like, I believe that we can actually harness this effect because it's really, I think it's conceptually like a lot to wrap our minds around. But if we can harness this effect, I believe that we can actually radically change our lives. And that's because if we can change our beliefs, like this just goes to show that everything is based on our state of consciousness, and everything can change and everything can shift. Nothing is set in stone, except for that we are in an infinite universe from the creator. I think that's the only thing I believe at this point. And if we can change our views of reality and what we believe and what reality we choose to believe. So that's what my guides kind of begun to share. I actually haven't read back what they, so just like normal, I'm going to read it back with you. And I just channeled it this morning, but I've been thinking about this for a really long time. Well, the past few weeks, like a lot, because it just keeps happening. It keeps happening where I'm talking to people and they remember one thing and I remember another. And they think one thing happened and I think another thing happened. And it's like, well, what's happening here? I think we're on different timelines. I think we're in different states of consciousness. And I'm not saying one has a better state of consciousness or higher state of consciousness. Also, where this came into play for me is that I believe that our memories are serving a purpose. So our memories are serving a purpose. So maybe for this handful of people, I keep using this example, but maybe for the Mandela effect, maybe the group of people who remembers him dying in prison in the 1980s, maybe having that belief served them in some sort of way. Maybe it served their life in some sort of way. Maybe they knew his family members and that led them to go to this funeral, and at the funeral, so they met one person, that person ended up being this, they ended up getting married, like who knows, meeting a business partner, meeting a best friend, going to a new place, which helped them discover where they wanted to live, like all of these things like are possibilities and probabilities. And so for this handful of people, maybe having that reality served them, or it served a belief that they had, that they were so ingrained thinking that the world is a bad place and that people, like with the oppression that we've seen of African Americans, maybe they believed that all African Americans went to prison. Maybe that was a belief that they had. And so here's where I believe, and I do remember saying this. The news. So they did mention this in the message that they brought through. The news is going to be one of the worst forms of consumption for creating, if you would like to be a deliberate creator of your reality. Because the news, it's like, are things happening because they're happening, or are things happening because the news paints a picture of what the world is, and then you go out and you think that that's how the world is? Like, really think about that, especially with this certain thing that's been floating around over the past 2 years. Is it really bad because it's just really bad, or is it really bad like when people get it because they've been told that it's going to be really bad? And so it's like these things that we think are reality, like, aren't someone else's reality, and someone will have a different memory of them. So this is also why I think it's so funny that they, for like court cases and stuff, that there are like, this is why we have to get multiple opinions. And I don't know what they're called, like the different people that they interview, the lookers, the attendees who also witnessed what happened. That's why they have to get multiple perspectives, because all of these people can see the exact same thing happen and have completely different stories about it. How does this happen? How does this happen? I believe that this is part of the Mandela effect. I believe that this is part of it, because the way that we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Like, this is huge. We see things as we are. So if we're, for example, if you are always struggling in relationships or with health or with finances, it's not because that's how it is. It's not like that for everyone. It's because you have a belief within you that is reconfirming it. And so I believe that the Mandela effect can work for your good or for your bad, as I depolarize those words, because we are the ones who make them good or bad. There's no really good or bad. We choose to make it good or bad, or right or wrong. And so, yeah, I think this is a good time to share the message from my guides and what they had to say about it. So, and again, as with all information, all channeled information, always take what resonates, and what doesn't, totally fine. But this is what my guides had to say. And even not channeled information, even what I'm saying, what resonates and what doesn't, it's totally fine. All information. So this is what my guides had to say. The Mandela effect is a phenomena that has always been in existence. For ultimately, it is different levels of consciousness and different planes of reality. For just because you see your fellow Earth humans does not mean that they are at the same dimension as you. Just because you remember one thing does not make it true for another. However, your truth is true for you. This is where scaling back time, history, and science may never appropriately articulate or grasp what is happening in this vast universe. The universe is infinite in nature. Thus, infinite possibilities may exist. So what is history but a limited perspective of a viewpoint? This is where the news comes in so powerfully as an example. People listen to a man or woman dressed nicely with notes reporting the truth, and thus this truth, in quotes, too becomes the reality. Was this the reality? Or was this created into existence because of their speaking? People will go on to create the reality they believe is possible, happening, or in alignment with their beliefs. I'm going to repeat that one. People will go on to create the reality they believe is possible, is happening, or in alignment with their beliefs. So when it comes to the past, we invite you to hold lightly. For the energy of this current time is one of rearranging patterns, doctrines, beliefs, and so forth. If you have a belief which you do not wish to keep, simply release it. And in the releasing it, you call forth the universal power to facilitate you in this. And thus, it is set into motion to receive support from the universe to help you. Focus your attention on what you want to create, for that is all there truly is: creation, continuing to create itself. You are continuing to create stories of the future, present, and past. So create the stories which serve you. And with all this information you receive, we invite you to feel the words and frequency. For to simply learn is passive, but to learn with the body is an experience. Feel what is true for you, while simultaneously honoring the other's experience. For their experience is just as real for them. This will be such a wonderful opportunity for many to release the grip on their beliefs. For now you see how beliefs may have served you in a point of time in your life. And as you shift your beliefs, you rewrite them, you recreate them, and you experience and you create a new experience of this reality, allowing it to become more playful, joyous, and fun. And so I just invite you to breathe in the frequency of that, because this is how we can begin to use this effect to our good, to our benefit, to our advantage. You have the capability, especially right now, while things are so malleable, you have the opportunity to shift and change your beliefs. If you don't like a story you're telling yourself, rewrite it. You can physically do this, physically write it out, or energetically asking your angels and guides in the universe to support you, or you can work with someone. I do this with my clients all the time. And it's so funny because in hypnotherapy, like I've been doing this and I hadn't even really put these two together. I would say so often to my clients, the stories are only true because we've said they're true. You can choose to attach a new meaning to it. And when we attach a new meaning, we attach new energy to it. You have the power to do this. You have the power to do this. And this is the ultimate letting go and surrender, because we have these stories of what we think are true. And so often we have these traumas, like really awful traumas. I get it. But your deepest healing can lie in telling a new story around that trauma. It doesn't negate it. It doesn't, this isn't spiritual bypassing. This is honoring this part of yourself, honoring that deep part of yourself that didn't receive what they need, that was really hurt, honoring that part of yourself. And then creating a new script and a new story. I really believe it's the both and. We do the deep work, we go into it, we feel it, you heal it, and then we gotta create the new story, because it's like I equate it to like cleanses or dieting, or like taking, let's not do that. There's a lot of energy around that. Let's take like taking antibiotics. You wipe the slate clean. You gotta re-inoculate. You need some like probiotics. You need some good bugs in there. I actually don't recommend taking antibiotics. I think there's a lot of natural things that you can do. This is not medical advice. But if you have to take antibiotics, there is always a time and a place. There's also some really great herbs. I digress. You gotta repopulate, even natural herbs. Like, you're still gonna want to repopulate and like take some prebiotics, some probiotics to just get some good bugs back in there. Okay. So this is what beliefs are like. So it's like, if you completely wipe out the beliefs, you go back, you like hold your inner child, you are so loved, you're so worthy, and you like wipe out these beliefs, but then you just created all this empty space and energy. What's going to go there? This is where you, my friend, get to come in and rewrite those beliefs. So this is where I believe that we can use the Mandela Effect to truly transform our lives, is by writing new stories. Like, how often do you just let yourself dream, to dream up a new story of, like the other day, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I don't very often. I realized, and I think that's the human programming, what we have been programmed is to think that reality is the way it is. It's the way it is because that's just how it is. It's not. The reality is the way it is because that is how you are. And we can change that. Now, it takes some deconditioning. It may take some time. It may take some working with a practitioner, like whatever it is, I invite you to feel what that would be for you. It's probably a combination of all of them. It has been for me. It has been for me. And by rewriting the stories, so that's what I was saying. So I just like allowed myself to lay on my floor. Just laid on my floor and I started thinking and just like dreaming of like, what if this happened to me? What if this happened? What if my past was like this? Like, what if I had brothers and sisters? What if I didn't? What if I grew up in Europe? What if I now lived in Europe? And just all of these possibilities and probabilities. You don't have to attach meaning to them. Just let yourself think about them. Let yourself go there. And it's like, as you're going to all of these places, which one feels good? Like, what one do you want to attach meaning to? Which one do you want your reality to be? Our mind can't tell the difference between real and imagined. So we can imagine anything we want and hold on to that energy while simultaneously letting it go and letting the universe support us in it. This is, I believe, how we can use this effect that, I mean, I invite you to Google it, and like there's some really cool photos of like things that I saw that I was like, I could have sworn that it was, I have the memory of the thing that's apparently not the reality. But it's really funny, as I didn't really do too much research. I kind of like to I like to ask my guides and trust my intuition when I do these. I don't really do a ton of research, but I did read a little bit because I was curious what people were saying. And there was this one science website, and it was just like saying how people have this false belief that doesn't match what the truth is. And that's what they were saying. But I believe everyone's truth is their truth. And so, that's okay. So that's what else I wanted to mention is that this is where a really big act of surrender is going to come into play, especially right now, as like the energy is very malleable right now, very malleable. Things are shifting and changing a lot. And we have a beautiful opportunity right now to surrender our need to be right. Okay. So stop trying to be right. This is so funny because in the very first time that I did my mushroom journey, which I have podcast on, I will link it below. It's like one of my most popular episodes. The very first insight that I had was, I don't always need to be right. I don't always need to be right. That was a very humbling awareness for me. And I see how it's like been passed down through my lineage and how it's such a societal thing. We desire as humans to be right. It makes us feel powerful. It makes us feel good. It gives us validation that we maybe didn't receive at one point in our lives. But why? Why do we need to be right? It's one of those things where kind of like success and these external things, that it will never truly fill you. And so during this time when you're having these instances with our fellow brothers and sisters of feeling like one person's right and another person isn't, just let them be right, because their truth is true. It's true for them. I mean, I think especially when I was getting into spirituality and like the spiritual community, like I remember going to expos and events and stuff, and I would hear people say things that I was just like, what reality are you living in? Like, how did, like, just the things that people would say, and I would have so much judgment at the time for them. And now I'm just like, who am I? Who am I to say that isn't true for them? Just because it's not true for me. And here's the thing. So when you get like that's not true, it means it's not true for you. It means it's not true for you, and that your vibrational energy isn't either in alignment with them or in alignment with what they're saying. That's okay. That's okay. So as my guides were saying, like, allow your body to tell you what is true for you. Okay. For you. The government says or does something, let it be true for them. You still have the power to create the reality that you want to see. I really invite you to just get super playful and creative. Like, let your inner child come out. How would you have wanted your past, your present, and your future to look like? Like, just play. Be in this experience of play. And like they just keep saying, malleable, malleable, malleable. Like, the energy is malleable right now. We can shift and change it. And don't try to hold on to the beliefs that aren't serving you. I realized that some of the beliefs are actually hard to let go of, even if they're an awful trauma, because they are serving some part of our story and some part of our circumstances that we're not ready to let go of. I realize that for myself. And I'm sure that that's the case for many people. I see it with my clients. I see it with others, that it's like these deeper traumas, they're still affecting people, and we're still reaffirming that they happened by telling them over and over, even if we're telling it for the good now, it's still reaffirming it. And or maybe it's serving you still in some way, like you're getting some sort of positive feedback in some way in your life from it. And so having the courage to let go of this, it can be scary and hard, because that's stepping and propelling us into the unknown. Our minds don't like the unknown. So I get it. So hold space and allow that part of you that feels scared, allow her to feel him or her to feel scared. And then write out how good it's going to feel when you are so supported in the new reality that you create. All right, my friends. With that, what a fun rabbit hole. What a fun rabbit hole. Thanks for going down there with me. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them in the comments below. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. And let me know you're listening over on Insta at I am Jasmine Elise. Go out there and create the reality that you desire, my friends. Until next time, I'm sending you all infinite love.